have a quintessential sludge episode. We have the independent artist from the underground. This person has albums, EPs, singles, remixes, collabs for days. I mean, he has eras. Today we get to chat to Vota from, is it Dubblé or Double?
Woo. Hi guys, hi Sludge. Thanks for having me. The thing is, it was Double Amount back in the day, and then I decided, let's make it different. Now it's Dubblé, so it's Dubblé Amount.
Is that what would you say that's inspired by, bro? Like, is it sort of like a French thing? I don't know where the origins of that would be. Other way, is it like is it French inspired at all? Or
I get that. Actually, the funny story. The project started in 2013, I think, with a homie. It was me and another guy, and we made music together. And we had like 5 songs, and we submitted it to a record label, and they said they were interested. And just when I broke the news to him, he said, no, he's going to move to George. And then he said he couldn't be part of the project anymore. So then I just decided, well, just keep the name and I'll do double the vibe, if I can put it like that. So I put myself into both roles, and that's, I guess, the Double Amount. And then my surname is French. And I decided, let's play on the French vibe. So Dubblé. At the time, even was a Z Dubblé Amount. So really, to be honest, not a big law behind the name, but I thought, just because it's been running for so many years, I just kept the name. But it's quite difficult to find it on the internet. So that's the biggest downfall, because spelling is off. And if you type the name in exactly like it is, then you'll find it. But if you put in like Double, you won't find it.
I think that is actually such a huge advantage. Like, as much as you say it's difficult to find, but an advantage would be that it's unique to you. Like, there's literally no other Dubblé Amount out there.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Sweet.
It's a huge flex.
But, catching some new hashtags and stuff like that, it's an easier way to find it as well. If you have like a nice single name, you can just type in the track title, right? And that'd be easier to find as well.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But also, like, the more you go and the more traction you get over time as well, it's like, when that name is like in the limelight and such, it's going to be literally the only one, which is why I reckon it's a huge thing. It's a good thing. But also, you mentioned your friend there that went to George. Are you guys still in touch? Does he still have any sort of like, impact on the music that you're making now? Was it like a negative fallout? What is it, behind that? Is he still involved at all in any capacity?
No, he's not involved anymore, but we're still good friends. We don't talk a lot, but we always, it's one of my best homies. We shared a lot of times together, so it's an absolutely love relationship. Love that guy. His name is Yanku. And yeah, he decided to move to George, and he's an architect now. He's running his own business, so got nothing but love for the guy. He's an amazing musician. He just chose another path. So yeah.
You describe Dubblé Amount as music for the exponents.
Yes.
What does that mean? Well,
I'm going to be honest. I went through a few, mottos or what, but this one just really kept it because I wanted to play on the D2, with the D with the exponent. And I thought, maybe, just thinking about it, music for the exponents, it sounds interesting. And the music itself is quite different. So I guess the people that listen to it, I want them to grow with me, exponentially with every time something new comes out. So yeah, I didn't think that I went through too much, but it was better than the previous description I had. And this one was short and sweet. So I kept it with that. And it plays nicely with the D2, So yeah, not too much law, but it's music for the exponents. Yeah.
Well, in terms of law, like, it seems that you have some of your catalog has like steeped stories. There are chapters, there are characters, and then some of it seems like completely for the fun of it. Like the collaboration with you and Niku Chevron with Monkey Advisory and Abbreviations. Can you tell us about the 24-hour song process that you guys were working with?
Oh, yes. Oh, Niku, if you're listening to this, my man, I love you. And always a pleasure working with you. When we make music together, we tend to not take it too seriously because he has his own projects and, I do my own thing. But when we start just playing together, we have this vibe of just, don't overthink it and just get in the feeling, the moment right at the studio. And then we just start jamming. And then we had this concept about, I think the Monkey Advisory came out 21. I'm not sure right now on the date. But yeah, we sat in the studio. The writing process is quite unique. It usually starts with a beat or just we decide on a tempo. And then we just get a riff out. And then we build from the riff and then we just write. And the idea is to finish the track in 24 hours. So we did Monkey Advisory first. And it was an absolute jolt. I'm not sure what that instrument is called that you put on your lips and for that sound.
It's like a mouth harp.
Yeah. So he bought me that thing for my birthday. And we decided let's use it on the track, because we figured out the frequency that mouth harp has. It's on the E. So we checked it on the guitar tuner and we're like, okay, so we're going to write a song in E. And then, yeah, we made a track. And we were so excited and happy about the vibe. So we decided, I think it was probably like 2 months later, then we did abbreviations. And the same vibe, just 24 hours, make a track, made some corny artwork with it. And, just putting it out for free because we didn't want to do some teasers. And we just thought, let's just get it out there. And the response was quite nice. And I must say, it's Monkey Advisory is still one of my favorite tracks. It's a really happy-go-lucky track. The lyrics are quite cool.
The Hardy Da sample is the best, dude. It's the best.
There's even a little mistake in the track where he plays the bass and it's a fill and we just repeated the fill. But anyway, it's probably the coolest track that we did together. So never take things too serious, I guess. That was the thing that we wanted to do.
Just to follow up to that one there, bro, like, with the way that you guys recorded that and how sort of like you weren't really taking it too seriously and such. Is that recording process and how you guys came with that track, is that something that you guys maybe ever moved forward with, or let's say yourself now as a solo musician, looking at how great the experience was and looking at how, the feedback was really amazing as well. Is that the process that you maybe carried with you when it comes to making, your other music, after that one there, or is it more like, that was just specifically, for those vibes and that time, I've got a completely different way, in which I go about recording and making music and such?
I would say for the tracks that we did on the collabs, it was definitely just for the fun of it and not too serious. But from the albums, like the Murky album and the new one, Achilles, completely different vibe to it. I did take it more serious and a bit more emotions involved, because it was just me doing it. So it was literally me putting myself out there in a vulnerable stage. Because each album, I feel how I grow with it and being more vulnerable. So I tend to take it more serious. And yeah.
Yeah. When you mentioned being vulnerable and, taking it serious in a way, how have you been able to sort of get yourself to a point where, you're comfortable enough, to put yourself in that position for the entire world, to sort of see? Because I can't imagine it's anything that would be really easy to do, to open up and be, vulnerable. So how have you sort of gone about, being comfortable enough to actually get yourself to a point where you're able to do something like that and execute it so well?
Well, the earlier music was more electronic based. So I didn't play a lot of instruments on the tracks and I didn't even do a lot of singing or vocals on it. So it wasn't being too vulnerable. And then I think at late 2020, I released that single, The Rush. And then I thought like, hey man, mail some bloggers and see what they think about it. Like having a completely different perception of what people think about it, not your friends or family giving you comment. And once they gave me a review on the track, I was like, wow, this is quite nice, having someone completely random, not random, but someone from the industry giving you comment on that. I guess that was a point where I felt be more vulnerable, and then after that single, I made the album and then they gave me more reviews on that. I was like, well, so I can do this again.
I want to ask, why does Murky start with open eyes and then end with sunglasses?
Okay, so Open Eyes was the sense of, because after The Rush, the single, then, the Murky album came out. Actually, the funny thing, The Rush and Open Eyes has the exact same chord progression. So I thought, maybe, not that I wanted to repeat the old structure, but I thought, maybe just bring that back in with Open Eyes. Because the album concept was quite new, because I haven't done an album like that ever. So yeah, Open Eyes means that like I went in with just being open, vulnerable. And then I wanted to close it off being like, okay, now I expose myself, and I'm putting back on the sunglasses. And sunglasses is quite a sad one, because Open Eyes was like this, come on, hey girl, come on boy, this upbeat type of thing. And then sunglasses, it ends off, because everything starts off nicely, and then, usually things ends with tears. But yeah, there's a little catch there. I'm glad you saw that, Open Eyes and then sunglasses. I mean, it's a nice way of opening and closing a album with a title.
Is there a connection kind of like that between CEO and Executive Seat?
Yes.
Because to me, they sound like sibling songs.
Definitely.
Yo, explain.
I must say Executive Seat is, all right, so I made Executive Seat and I felt like, wow, this is a very cool style. It was also the first time I'm really playing on that tempo. I think it was 150 BPM. And I was like, okay, cool. So this bass line, it made me feel like I was in this casino type of vibe, It's like, okay, cool. I literally felt like I had a bit of power in some way. Anyway, and then, well, after the Murky release, I was just, making tracks and trying to compile something for the next release. And I found CEO. I had like, wow, it's got the same keyboard sound to it. In any case, I think it's the same BPM. I was like, wow, okay, so now we're in the Executive Seat. So next we're in the CEO seat. And actually I have planned for another one, but I'm still thinking of like the title track or the position that the character is going to be in. I want to make it like a 3-part thing, but obviously they're not going to be related in, Executive Seat is going to be on Murky album. CEO was a single. And yeah, I guess how they come together and connect is it's just got the running bass line. So that's the type of theme with what I'm going for with that.
It's interesting that you say there's a third one.
Yes.
Because in the CEO music video, it starts with you holding the King, Ace, and Joker cards. So essentially there are already 3 characters.
This is true.
Sneaky.
Yeah. But I'm still thinking about the title for the next one. It just has to be, I know it sounds like a corporate positions, So I'm thinking of the president seat or something like that. But the thing is, those structures, they came naturally. I think that's the biggest thing and why they worked as well. The only downfall for me is, which I've reflecting back on when I'm listening to the tracks and some of the feedback I got, is just to maybe add some extra lyrics into it, because I do tend to get a bit repetitive. And in a way, I like that, because when it comes to performance or something like that, it's nice to maybe, get the crowd involved to do the verse with me.
I think the way you repeat lyrics is part of what works, though. Like, it's something I really like about your music. Like, especially in the rush, it gets it home, if you get what I mean. The repetition drives it there.
Okay. I guess sometimes just a few words can be stronger than, like a whole paragraph or a whole story. Just like a little, like 2 sentences can really be powerful, because, can relate, and it gives you the option of making your own ideas when you're listening to it.
You mentioned that it happened, very naturally there, bro. Like, was it always intended on being, a trilogy at the end of the day? Or did you sort of just start it off as just, the one single, and it sort of built up to a point where it was like, actually, I could make this a trilogy? Or was that the plan from the onset?
No plan at all. It was just, I don't know where the ideas come from, but yeah, not plan at all. I'm just going with it. And so far I'm not fighting the feeling. So yeah, it's quite cool.
So essentially there could be like a quadruple.
Yeah.
There could be even a 4th one. It could even be an ongoing thing, from like project to project type thing, right? If the vibes allow it.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe each album, well, every new album, whatever release, there would be some track like that. It's like a part 1, part 2. So naturally, I think that would be the way to go. But yeah, it was not planned, but I'm liking it, and it's quite unique. to the Dubblé sound. So, but I'm thinking of making a music video for Executive Seat. It's just yeah, I just felt like it's a bit old maybe now, so rather move on.
Okay, in terms of sequels and trilogies, there is one track I feel like it's missing because there's Before You Know It 2. So where's Before You Know It 1?
Well, there was 2 versions of the track, so thanks for seeing that. Yeah, the first one, I don't know, it's completely different to the one obviously that I posted, but I will not be posting that one. I think it's actually a minute long, so I never finished the track as a whole because it didn't have that core to it. And to be honest, I made the video. I didn't want to release the song at all. But then I was like, wow, like probably like 2 months later, watching the video with the song, I was like, this is not too bad. So might as well post it rather than just letting it lay on the hard drive.
So you have like 70 tracks to your name at this point, at least. Okay. And I've just learned that you don't publish everything you make. So how many are in the vault? Like, what is the folder structure like here?
Well, to be honest, I actually have 2 albums that I made that I never posted. It was like the first albums I made. It was very electronic and a lot of sample-based stuff, which never got posted. And I felt like, well, back in the day, as I see some of the tracks I posted like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I had no clue of Spotify and stuff like that. So I didn't want to publish it because it's quite expensive to put your tracks on TuneCore and stuff like that. I think it's like 500 Rand for the year, which is not too much. I mean, it's an investment, but the streaming royalties isn't really that much. So having like 5 albums on Spotify or on TuneCore can get expensive. So for that reason, I didn't publish a lot. Plus, it's also a good way for me to just see if the people are listening to it. And yeah, they don't want the people to enjoy the music. And if they really like it, they can share it with their friends, rather than having everything protected. And yeah.
What I wanted to ask, that you bring up something really important there, actually, that I feel like could be sort of like a learning source. If maybe there's an artist that's listening to this as well, and they sort of wanted to, release or whatever the case is. But before I ask that one there's something that you mentioned earlier about, you're unsure whether you'd want to, release a music video for Executive Seat because, you dropped it a while back and such. So I want to know, like, from your perspective, what makes you feel like, a track, because a track is so old, it probably wouldn't be viable to sort of drop like a video for it. Is it plausible to drop a music video for a single that you've dropped maybe a while back? Are there any advantages to it, or are there any disadvantages to it?
Well, I mean, things are going so fast, and I guess the attention span is also so small right now. So having something posted back then probably would be nice to bring it back, because if I would post a music video for Executive Seat, I guess the Murky album would make sort of like a comeback for people that maybe missed it, or they probably listen only to one track. So they can be like, hey, okay, I didn't listen to the full album. So I guess it would revitalize the album. But at the end of the day, to be honest, I'd rather make something new and move on, because I felt each track or each release is like a chapter of your life that you put out there. Like at this time, this is how I felt and this is who I was. So I don't really want to go back to who I was then, because I like to reflect on it. And it's nice to be like, okay, that's how I felt and stuff. But do I want to go back? Not really.
Yeah. And obviously the second part is when you mention that, at the time with the first 2 albums and distribution being so expensive and such, it was obviously more of like a thing where you put it up to be sort of accessible in a way and not have it be protected all the time. Now, as someone who later on, I mean, obviously you've got, some stuff up on Spotify at this point. You've experienced the best of both worlds. So which would you say has sort of been more beneficial, for you? Which have you sort of, enjoyed a lot more? The stuff that you released that was sort of unprotected? Or would you say the Spotify route has sort of, worked out a lot better for you in the long run?
Both sides are nice, having it accessible for everyone is cool. And also having it sort of like on the underground, like if you are subscribed, that's the only way you'll find it. But what I've noticed is I post something, and if it doesn't do that good, then I'll just take it off, or I would not renew it again. So that's the way I'm working with it right now. If the people aren't listening to it, I'll take it off, and then it will just be in the vault, in the channel, on the videos. But I would say it's definitely a go-to. Well, it's a necessity to get your stuff legally published and having everything ready. I mean, that's a professional side to it, and it's a must, right?
Yeah. When you say when something doesn't really do that well or people don't really listen to it, where is that sort of bracket for you? You know, what would you consider something, you know, that hasn't done well and you're like, okay, I'm going to remove that, as opposed to something that does good? You know, what sort of bracket does that land in?
I guess I'll probably look at the numbers. That's the only way for me to get a data in for something like that. And I think just some of the things have a shelf life. Rather expose like a few gems than putting out everything there, because not everyone's going to go through all the tracks.
Yeah, like, so I get that. What I'm trying to find is what is, if you're looking at numbers, right? And that sort of determines whether or not the track is going to stay up or going to be removed. What is that golden number for you? Like, what would you say is the number that indicates that, okay, I shouldn't remove this? And what number would you say indicates that, okay, this needs to go, you know, I need to take this off?
You know, at least Spotify, they send you like the mail of how many streams you have. So that's quite nice to work from. Yeah, because the one track, it's called Blackstone Pulse. They did a collab with a guy called Tian. And once we posted it, it did nice. And then probably a year later, I checked the stats and it got like one view or one stream. Literally one stream. So I was like, okay, so I think this thing had its time. And so I wouldn't say there's a fixed number, let's say like 5,000 or something. I guess it would be a consistent, you know, playing stream. So let's say the 1 month it did nice, and then a year later it's no streams. That would be a time for me to be like, okay, the song's shelf life is now done. So take it off and move on. And if people still want to listen to it, it's still accessible. But just financially, I'll just take it off. And, you know, then I'll probably just post it back. I'll just reshare the whole project, you know, videos and songs. So, yeah.
For the people, say for example, now, the two people that listen to that, man, say it's Meags and I, for example, and we are absolute fans of that track. I mean, as much as we're the only ones who have listened to it, unfortunately, we'll have to deal with the fact that, you know, you've removed it as a result of obviously you saying that those two streams are not really, you know, they don't really reflect well. So how do you sort of cater to those, that small group of people that's like, listen, we absolutely love that song. Is there any way for them to sort of then, once the song is removed, how do you ensure that they're also still sort of, you know, fed in a way if they enjoyed it?
I haven't thought about that, to be honest. I guess if they reach out and they're like, hey man, where's that song? Then I'd love to just send them the song through an email or something so they can have it. I guess I'm generous like that, but yeah, it makes sense to have some type of go-to, because I understand like one song, if it's gone, then what? So shit, I haven't thought about it.
Also, like, what if something comes back in a trend cycle? Like, if you take Murky, right? You describe it as going back to some roots with bold distortions, catchy vocal lines, nostalgic synths, and a murky 90s guitar style. So what if 90s guitar style, let's say, starts to trend again and people, like a new generation, say, discover it, and then like you should be there, you know, like on that list.
Yeah.
What if you have like that future like cult following kind of thing where like people praise this as like a cult classic, like Murky, it's the best. We gotta like let it get to the future, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it still has to be there.
You might be ahead of your time.
Yeah.
You know, you might be.
Yeah, just before the boom, I take it off. Yeah, it's not the way to do it. Well, I guess I'll just keep it on.
I feel like people need to come together. Guys, we need to come together and we need to make sure that this music stays on the internet for us.
At the same time, though, I think you did mention there, bro, a possible solution at least. You know, I guess your solution would encourage someone to actually reach out to you and be like, listen, man, you removed X song. I love it so much. I need you to send it to me. So I don't think what you were saying is also like bad. I mean, if someone really likes something and it's no longer there, and they reach out to you and they're like, dude, please send it to me via email. I think your solution isn't bad at all, actually, as well. You know, it's you don't feel like, you know, your approach is off or anything. I mean, you've got a solution for it.
Definitely. All the tracks also, I've got a Bandcamp page as well, and everything's there as well. It's on there. So at the end of the day, everything is still accessible on the internet. It just wouldn't be on the paid services like the Spotify's and the iTunes and stuff. So I guess it depends on the consumer.
Oh, okay. So are the first two albums that you mentioned, those are up on Bandcamp? Like anything you haven't released on the other platforms would be on Bandcamp?
Yeah, everything that I've released is on Bandcamp and it's on YouTube. So the only difference is YouTube has a little bit of a visual with the track, like some old photos or something I made back in the day, because I made the videos myself, homemade stuff. But yeah, literally everything is available 24/7 on these other social medias, and they don't cost anything. That's a great thing about them. So I would always keep them updated. So X Song would always be available.
I've gone back to even Dimensions EP, so I can attest. If you want to find it, it is definitely there.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about the Dubblé project as well is if you listen to the things from the start, it's very different, right? And now from the Achilles Heel album, it's very rock and more instrumental. So I never knew what style I really wanted to go into. And with every release, it's completely different. Like this one would maybe be more an EDM vibe, or this one would be more rock. Because I think the Murky album was much more light rock vibes. And now the Achilles Heel album is much more darker. So it's never the same. And I think that's a cool thing. The listener would always be like, okay, what is he up to next? And I like to keep that thing on. I don't want to be too predictable.
Are you ever influenced by like external forces? Like what Meagan was mentioning that, say for example, now 90s sort of, you know, sounds come back. You know, you having done EDM, would you sort of say around that era or around the time when you were making the EDM stuff, there was sort of like external influence? Maybe say, for example, EDM might have been booming around that time. So you found that, you know, there was a bit of that influence in there? Or is it strictly just you're on your own lane, you're doing your own vibes type thing?
I must say, like each year I find new artists to listen to because I like new music, and I would always find a new artist that I would just, you know, go into and find out everything about him and listen to his music. The Murky album, I was really into Tame Impala and Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Also, I love drum and bass and stuff like that. But at that time when I made Murky, really influenced by that type of music. And when it came to Achilles Heel, I was listening to Corbin. Corbin is a big influence actually for the new album. So definitely, I guess the external forces, it really inspires the music that comes out as new releases. So yeah, definitely they play a big role. But it's the best thing is I never notice it. I never force it. It just
happens. It just happens.
Yeah, just happens. Yeah. And I go with it.
Yeah.
I don't resist.
So there's something I've noticed as a pattern that you might have, and that's releasing an album and then doing a bunch of collaborations. So I want to know who's next on the collab list.
Oh, I'd really love to get back into the musos I made back in the day. Like I would obviously definitely want to work with Niku again. We probably are going to do it, but I'd like to work with Chris Phillips again. I know he's not making music anymore, but we did gel back in the day. And actually I did collab with a nice, she's an amazing artist. She's called Lisa Maro. And we made some tracks, but it hasn't been released and it's just sitting there, and I would really love to get that out. So, and to be honest, I would love to collab with anyone. But yeah, I think more collaborations would be necessary for future stuff.
Who's a dream collaboration for you? Like anyone?
Anyone. The biggest dream would probably be Corbin right now. But they are untouchable. But yeah, I guess the Tame Impala, I guess I'm a big sucker for that type of vibe. But Corbin would be the top one. I must say, I listen to a lot of diverse music. So even Little Dragon would be cool. But when it comes to the local guys, this is Instagram page indieplaylist.za, and I saw a lot of new artists, local guys, which I've never heard before. And they're very, very good. So maybe reach out to them in the future.
Shout out to NDZA.
Yeah.
Major shout outs.
Yeah. I want to talk about your Jamie Love collaboration. Quite a few songs in that belt. What was it like working together? And what made you decide to work together?
Okay, sure. His name is Tian, but yeah, his alias is Jamie Love. We made contact, I think, in 2016. We both just really loved producing music. And I guess back in that stage, we were making dubstep and stuff like that. We went into a stage of being independent artists both ourselves. He had a really good voice. So yeah, we ended up collaborating as separates. Rather than being like one unit, like one artist name, we decided to keep it Jamie Love and Dubblé Amount. And we started making music, and we went to an open mic at Antlas. They didn't want to give us the chance to play the music because there was a DJ deck involved, and it was on the guitar and vocal. So I know that they have like a strict policy of not doing any backtracks. And that night, the main guy that hosts the open mics, he wasn't there. So the guy that filled in for him was like, "No, guys, you get up on the stage, try a thing." So then we did, and we performed. I think we performed like 2 tracks or 3. I'm not sure, but the one that really got the attention was the track called UFO, and the people loved it. And we were like, "What, man? This is quite cool. We should do this like for real." So we started making more tracks, and we decided, no, man, let's take a big leap, because we didn't play too many shows, but we're like, hey, let's make our own tour. So we decided to make a little tour. It was called the Modern Conditioning Tour. And we played 2 shows in Durban and I think 3 shows in Cape Town. And yeah, it was really nice, but I guess our sound was just a bit, I wouldn't say too ahead, but it was very, I remember the one guy described the act as a very quirky band. And I mean, you have like a pop song, and then you have like this heavy song. So it was really all over the place. And it was great. We learned a lot. We literally threw ourselves in the deep end. And yeah, then after the tour, we took a break, and ultimately we started performing together. I remember he did continue doing his own thing, but I guess we both had to find our sounds again, because we 2 different acts. So we need to find our course. But the tracks that we did post on the interwebs was nice. My favorite one is Like the Sun, and the one that did the best was called Midnight Blue. It played on Tux FM, and we got good feedback. But yeah, ultimately, I guess we stopped making music, and yeah, we went separate ways. But I would love to get back into that. I guess that'd be a great collaboration for the next project.
I'd actually love to hear something more along the lines of XO with him, because I like that. It was dope.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it actually gave me Deftones vibes.
Nice. I'm a big fan of Deftones. No, XO, I'm going to be honest, that was also one of the best tracks, but it was very slow. So when we performed it, it was really this song that dragged out, and we lost the crowd instantly when we played that one. But it's a very sweet song, and yeah, no, I agree. I hear what you're saying, that it's a really good one.
You mentioned there, bro, when you guys were talking about the collaborations, that you've had in the past, and even now when you were talking about your collaboration with Tian, you mentioned that this was a while back or long ago. So like, how long ago did all these collaborations actually happen? How far back does Dubblé Amount, making music, being a musician actually sort of, go? And how have you sort of managed to sort of, stay consistent throughout the years? Because I don't believe that everything's been easy. I don't believe that everything's been roses and flowers and butterflies and everything. So how have you managed to sort of just keep pushing,
I've been playing guitar for some time now. Actually picked up my first guitar when I was 13, and I took a break because this is going to sound weird, but I got bored of playing guitar because I guess my creative space wasn't that big. So I felt like I was so limited with just the stock sound I had on my amp. So I moved away from the instruments, and I just jumped on the synthesizers, and that really blew my mind. Yeah, so each time I would find a new sound and just just go with it. And I've never stopped. And I guess that's the way the consistency went on, because I would always find a new sound and just find it's an idea and go with it. As far as the collaborations go, yeah, it was a no-brainer. Just meet someone, we would gel, and we wouldn't even plan it. We were just like, hey, let's go, let's make something. But the project, the Dubblé project, the first time I recorded the track and literally, put it out there for my friends to listen was in 2011. And some really cringy music. But at the earlier stages, I made a lot more collaborations. Now it's more independent because there's a lot of drama now with being, if you really want to take it, the Spotify and stuff like that, sharing the royalties and stuff. Sometimes it just kills the vibe, the creative vibe. Because when the business side comes in, people, we tend to change a bit,
Would you say it was easier being a musician back in 2011 as it is being a musician in 2022?
I wouldn't say it's easier or harder. I guess the tools are just got easier because back then software and stuff wasn't as legit as now. But I would say I do enjoy the process more now because the more you learn, after the Achilles heel album, I've really felt like, hey man, I leveled up with the guitar playing skills. So definitely I'm enjoying the music much more now as back in 2011.
Just one more thing there's something that you mentioned there about being professional and professionalism, whenever that sort of steps in, it sort of changes, people and our approach. So what did you mean by that? Is there like an experience, something you went through maybe, that's got to do with maybe contracts or something that happened that involves, things being so professional to a point where people start changing and things start changing?
Yeah, I guess when it came to the first play on the radio, I decided like, hey man, you can obviously make royalties from this. And so I started going into the music business side, and I registered a business and I started a company called Ecliptic Sun, and it was like my own little record label that I wanted to have so that I don't need to, well, then I have like a backup or something to go back on when it comes to, legal stuff and everything's legit, it's registered and stuff. So I did that side, and yeah, I think that consumed me a bit and took some of the creative space away, because let's say you guys are making a collaboration song and you're posting it and it gets 1 million views or something like that. I mean, it's a big rush and everything, but as soon as the money gets on the table, it just changes people. I mean, you might say it won't change you, but it's a very sensitive subject that no one really talks about. Well, they do talk about it, but not in that depth. And I wouldn't say when you start collaborating, that's the first thing you guys should talk about, like getting that out of the way. That we obviously positive, but yeah, I don't want to make it corporate, but when it comes to something that happened to me personally, no and yes. Because with the record label, I did work with other artists, and Madden Love, we took that serious because she is like this dancer, and she's a really good dancer, and she wanted to start her own profile. And we had to do it right, get the contract stuff and just make everything legit. So I guess that's the way to be professional, because when the ball starts rolling, you have everything ready at least. But at the same time, being the business and the creative on the same thing, I mean, I guess power corrupts, right?
You're making sense, bro. You're making sense. Like it reminds me of something that was actually said by one of the bands that we had on that came through from Durban, Southport, in their episode where they were saying that, being an artist right now means doing more things, things that are just beyond making music, like having to worry about your social media, having to market your stuff, having to, be sort of business minded in a way. So would I be correct in saying then that from your answer, if you were to give advice, you would say that if people want to collaborate, the very first thing that they should get out the way would be obviously the contractual talks and royalty splits and all that there before moving on, just to protect themselves?
I would say yes. But I mean, if you're working with someone that's already established, definitely, because they're both on the same level then. But then again, I would also say just see how it goes, because sometimes you can gel with someone and that's like a unspoken word. So yeah, I wouldn't say I have advice on that, but it'd be good to just know, the fields, just know about the things.
Your songs range from like a minute or so to like 5 minutes. So I want to know, how do you know when a track is finished?
Ooh. Well, with the new stuff, I guess I've just learned to work with the structure more, and you find like a recipe which works. But when it comes to the minute tracks, I feel like sometimes you don't need to repeat or just build the structure too much. I mean, you've got the core element in that one chorus or that one piece, and it's strong enough to be just like a small song or a short song. And once again, it's not planned, but if it's really good and you feel like, hey man, it's a bit short, but I would like to extend it, I guess I'll make a separate version, extended mix. But once again, no planning.
Do you put any like planning into the sequencing with your albums and your EPs?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely goes in. The sequencing, when it comes to the albums, definitely. I would produce all the tracks. Well, I would choose the best ones out of the lot. And I would literally put it in random orders and listen to it one day, next day, another random order. And eventually feel like, okay, this is the way this song flows into the next one. And let's say you start off with a banger. It's nice to have another banger just afterwards, but you gotta give your brain some rest for all the dopamine, right? So just bring it down again and then bring it up for the next track. So there is definitely some sequencing involved. And to be honest, I like to play with the track titles as well. So I don't want to make it you don't make the track title too obvious. So some of the track titles are really completely different to the actual song. But yeah.
The 369 EP also has like very, like you say that you recommend we listen or watch to each one in numerical order, because you've actually like played with tuning. What was behind that?
Yeah, the 360, the 369. Are we talking about the SSS or
369? A deeper contrast, tectonic, intense on the second. That era.
Yeah, that was a crazy time. To be honest, I guess that was just a little of clickbait, listening to them in numerical order. I guess you can. It's not a big difference when I look back at it now. I'm not sure what I was thinking back then. I think I tuned some of the instruments on 432 hertz instead of the 440. And yeah, it felt like a bit of a mess because some of the synthesizers you can't detune or tune down. So really experimental. But if I didn't do these experiments, I guess I wouldn't find the sound that I had today. I felt like, music was so limited of just being, this recipe. And I really wanted to just break that recipe. Just want to break the rules, how far I can go, but still keep it musical and not make it some ambience type of thing. But yeah, I also played with tempo drops back then. And I actually want to take down the 369 EP, to be honest.
But now this is sort of like, just on what we were talking about earlier, when you say you want to take it down. Say, for example, you took it down before you did this interview. I'm pretty sure Meeks has listened to it before, a while back. But it's sort of like if someone had to come across your stuff, say after you'd removed it, then we probably wouldn't even, be having a conversation about it, which means that there are, people that will always, come across the stuff and listen to it. And it's just one of those things where it's unfortunate that, once it goes down, there's no longer going to be any access to it in a way, unless obviously someone reaches out and stuff. So I just reminds me of what we were talking about earlier.
But yeah, I don't want to have too much quantity, because they might listen to the one song and be like, oh, okay, this is nice, but skip, and then you lose the listener right there. So I just felt like some of the videos on YouTube, it's a bit outdated, and it's just taking space.
Yeah. Were you affected by COVID at all, like lockdown and such? Because I remember there was just this period where Meags and I were talking to artists who, obviously during the pandemic as well, and obviously as much as it affected, gigs and playing live and such, it was an opportunity for artists to actually go back at the studio, make music, be creative and stuff, right? So how did it sort of, impact your music and the things that you were doing as an artist?
Well, I guess if it wasn't for the COVID thing, I wouldn't have released Murky or Achilles, to be honest, because it wasn't that time when we had plans and it got cancelled due to the pandemic. I was literally just stuck in the studio, and going through the emotions. I would just pick up the guitar and write the tracks. So yeah, if it wasn't for the pandemic till the sense, I guess I wouldn't have released the stuff, because I was in a bad space, man, when I made Murky and Achilles, and it was the only way for me to cope. It's just to make these tracks and get it out. So I guess that's how the pandemic influenced the Dubblé project.
That's incredible, man. It's really heartwarming, getting to learn about how, as much as lockdown and COVID was pretty much a negative sort of thing to happen, but a lot of creators found it as, the opportunity to deal with, projects that may have been sort of, they've been holding, back on, or, it encouraged us, to push on with, the Zoom chats and all that there. So I'm just glad that there was something good that came out of it for you as well as an artist.
Definitely. Thank you, man. I'm super glad for you guys as well, keeping the grind going on the sludge.
Hey, appreciate it, man. It wouldn't be a thing without, the likes of yourself, bro. Like the stories that you have to tell, and your story is unique to you, and no one can ever replicate that, which is what makes it, it makes your push and everything that you're doing so special, because there just isn't any other, Dubblé Amount. So Thank you, dude. Meeks.
So I want to talk about your latest release, Achilles Heel. It's time. Okay, so right out of the bat, Michelangelo seems to be about like direction and clarity and motivation as an artist. Okay, how do you deal? How's it been?
How's it been? Man, it's been dark. It's been very dark, to be honest. Haven't seen my brother in a while. I miss him. Haven't seen very important people the way I want to see them in a while. And I feel like there's a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I haven't got the guts to do it. And a lot of FOMO. And yeah, I mean, I've made the album in December. Didn't go on holidays. Everything was canceled and plans. And yeah, I was stuck here, man. And I really went through some bad times. And I just decided, you know what? I don't want to be this guy anymore. And I think I finished like 2 tracks from the rest of the album, and I just made it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to leave this. I want to take a big break from this project. And then I sobered up for 2 months. And then I'm like, okay, man, well, you got to at least finish the things that you started. So I finished the album. With the Murky album, I made everything, the photos and the videos. But with this one, I was like, man, take a step back and ask some people for their own creative input. So I got this guy called Asian Smith. His handle is Cheap Feelings. He made amazing album art. And another guy called Not Russell Crowe. He made the videos for me. And it took a lot of weight off my shoulders, getting some other creators involved. And to be honest, if it wasn't for them getting involved, I wouldn't be happy with the release. But now with them getting involved with just this, with the small stuff, this is the first album I'm really feeling satisfied with. And it's a big blessing for me to say that, because I always felt hungry, more hungry. And this is the first one I'm really like, okay, I'm satisfied. So yeah.
Shout out to Not Russell Crowe there, because I've seen some of the stuff that he's done for Middle Grounds and some of the other bands that are up there. He's incredible, dude. How is it working with him?
Well, I literally just followed him on Instagram and I looked at his work and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to just message him. So I haven't met him personally, but yeah, we were just literally talking on WhatsApp, on Instagram. Very easy guy, super smooth. He knows what he's doing, and he's very patient. That I really appreciate, because we know when it comes to the art, like making a logo or what, people tend to have things that they want to change, and I guess that's the big thing that tends to get people off. Like change this, and then once they send it, they're like, no, change this again. So he was very, very patient with me, and I would recommend working with him. So anyone who's listening, work with Not Russell Crowe, good homie, and really amazing with the prices as well. It was very lenient for me, just being a very supportive guy. So yeah, shout out to him.
One final question for me on your latest tape, obviously, is how do you go about, naming all these songs? I mean, there's like Octo Who, there's, Inclined City. Is it sort of like you write the song and then the name sort of just comes up, or is it like you come up with the name first and then everything stems off, the name that you've given that particular song?
Some of the tracks, I start with the name. Some of the names come naturally with the vibe of the track. But like Octo Who, I'm not sure what the track was called, but I definitely just changed that up just to make it interesting. Because there's no lyrics. It's just like the song literally says "Hold On." That's the main lyric in the song. And I was like, call this "Hold On." No, that's too bland. So make it Octo Who. Just switch it up. Tracks like Sunset Avenue with Nico, that was planned. Inclined City was also ready. I watched a documentary about some cell phone manufacturing, and that's how I got the name. It's just being in the city. And yeah, so most of the tracks have a name prepared, or but some of them are literally at the end of the track, I'm like, okay, let's just change this for the sake of not being another track that just like, hold on,
No, dude, it's really dope. Like, I mean, there's some really nice variety, in that, like when you say Octo Who, it's very different. It immediately, popped up and jumped at me. So props to you for getting these names down.
I want to say that I feel like Achilles Heel is the most you sounding of your work. And I love that it's more indie. I love the drum and bass.
All right.
It still has like your signature, I don't know, grittiness, I would say.
Okay, cool.
I can still tell it's yours, but it's definitely like, I don't know, maybe it's a turning point. It makes me excited for whatever else you release. So it's doing its job.
Thank you.
You've got a lot to be proud of.
Thank you, guys.
Can I say the artwork is incredible as well? The artwork is insane.
Yeah.
But I will say also that listening to your whole discography is also rewarding. It's been a trip.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the journey is as good as the destination for me right now.
Awesome. It's never the same, right? Each release would be something new. That's a big thing, I guess.
So if you had a dream budget, okay, and you were playing like an amazing slot, like picture Burning Man level, okay? What would a live Dubblé Amount performance be like?
Oh, okay. Well, for something like Burning Man, I guess that'd be more upbeat vibe. So I guess I would invest more on the visual side. The setup would probably be, me playing the bass guitar, having the little DJ deck in front of me with a keyboard. That would be the ultimate thing as a solo guy. But I would love to have a band. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to start a band. But yeah, I guess I haven't tried it yet. But also the sound is not really band vibes. I don't know how to perform this at. Because, I mean, venues, they want bands. And some venues want DJs. So this is like a crossover between both. But when it comes to Burning Man, yeah.
Can I take a stab at would you have, I don't know about Burning Man, but in terms of a lineup, can I just take a guess and say Tame Impala would have to be on there, Little Dragon would need to be on there?
I don't know. I don't think the music would be gelled so nice with Tame Impala, to be honest. I guess the same festival, yeah, but not on the same stage, because it's two different feelings. I guess the Dubblé is a bit more hard and jumpy. But Tame Impala is really a bit more about the story. And I don't know, headliner, or if I would open for someone, I guess that would be. I haven't thought about something like that. I don't know. I'll probably do a poll and find out what would work. Because the listeners usually give me a better insight or perspective of, helping me find the answer and something like that.
Hey, that was perfect, man. No, it's been an awesome, chat. And so this is the perfect opportunity to plug, man. But before we even plug, I want to thank you for joining Meags and I for this chat. Like, dude, learned so much about you, and just really grateful that you even consider this a platform, that's worthy, of your time and such, man. Thoroughly enjoyed this chat, like 100%. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'm forever grateful, and it's an honor to be part of this. And so thank you, guys, and I appreciate everything you've done.
Hey, solid. Yeah, it's, the pleasure's all ours, bro. So, to plug your social media handles on social media, where can people sort of reach out?
I guess the one I'm most active on is Instagram at Dubblé Amount. I love YouTube, so definitely check me out on YouTube. Also, Dubblé Amount. For hidden gems, check out SoundCloud. There's a few tracks there that's not on the other platforms. On Bandcamp as well, and obviously Spotify and Instagram, iTunes. And for some reason, I went back in the day. There's another handle, Reverb Nation. It's also a nice site. There's also a few gems there. On Facebook, yeah. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
That is awesome. And for anyone that's listening, www.sludgeunderground.com is where you'll find everything Sludge Underground related. I don't know how much time we have, Meags. Can I still ask one question, or are we done? Like, is it like completely, are we going to get kicked out? Okay, in 2 minutes, bro. See if you can. I mean, we haven't spoken about your artwork. It's really interesting. It's a really solid point. What is happening here? It's incredible. Break it down for me as quick as you can.
Okay, so I felt like time is coming, right? I only got so much time left, and I just wanted people to remind them, like, time is falling and time is ending. Do as much as you can. And the amazing Essian Smith from Chief Feelings, he made that possible with this amazing artwork. And I want people to look into the image and, just feel something.
Incredible. On that bombshell, what song are we closing out with from Achilles? Flip, I butchered that. From your latest project, what song are we playing out with? Achilles heel.
That's up to you guys. I'm fine with any track, whichever one you guys vibe with. I'm fine with that.
Sick. Meags, what's your favorite?
It's tough. I really like Cut the Tie. I really like Octo Who. I love Holding the Bridge. I'll just be naming the whole track list here. So, okay, TBD.
All right, sick. We'll play out with whichever one, because all of them want gems.